what's up? We're in the next part. Please go check out the previous parts, okay? The previous part. To gauge your bearings, we're busy talking about obsessive compulsiveness that you find lurking in the woods of occult practitioners. Listen, guys, when you obsess over a human being using sorcery, you are not going to conquer your addiction to them. The devil is the father of addictions. He is the one that sits around all up in everybody's grill, trying to force everybody to be sutured to people that they can't possibly stay with. I mean, even soul ties. If you think about sex, how it is that it is so casually exchanged amidst people who don't know Jesus, fornication. So you sleep from the time you're perhaps a teenager, maybe young adult, okay, with like a couple of guys. And some, like, teenage love is so pregnant, it's so strong, it's so passionate, it's so hard knock, intense, do you understand? That you cannot afford to bond with your body and everything to somebody that you are highly unlikely going to end up married to. Yeah, and yet you walk in all of these passions. I did it. I broke my virginity when I was 17 with the guy that I called my first love. And I promise you guys, after that guy, it was just so hard to feel satisfied anywhere else. It took, if anything, after the first guy that broke my virginity, it would then be the guy that I was with for 5 years. Literally all those years down the line, from 17 to, I started dating my ex at like 22. 17, 18, so 5 years later. And the whole 5 years, it's not like I was single, okay? It would take 5 years for me to finally be comfortable, relaxed, at ease in a, what would be the tantamount of a stable relationship again. I was just in these weird little strange relationships for the years in between then, because of the fact that it literally, according to me, never got better than the first guy that I was with. When you create that kind of bond and connection with people, you create an addiction. You create an addiction to a human being, and nobody else can compare. That's why some of y'all enter into marriages and you keep on comparing the performance of this man that is your husband to some ex in the past, and when it doesn't compare, you're literally at risk, in danger, do you understand, of adultery, especially if you bump into another ex. I heard from a friend today and she said you were in town. You are actually having an affair with your high school boyfriend, like married to some other dude. Like, people cause, and the thing that causes that is addiction. It is getting addicted to a human being and then moving on to another one and another one and another one, attaching yourselves, getting soul ties to other people until you become possessive of them. You become possessive and you don't want to let them go, and that's the kind of stuff that then gives you a bright idea. You, of course, you know that is a what do you call this, a sarcasm. You know that's sarcasm. You then get like this bright idea to just hold them hostage because it ain't never gone better. Yeah, not first boyfriend, first love, that I broke my virginity with. He made a decision that, because I walked away from him, or he was passing me shade, give me grief, right, type establishment thing. He is the one that made a decision. I bumped into him at the funeral of another one of my dead boyfriends, okay, some guy that passed away that went to the same high school as my ex. I did not know that they knew each other, type thing. Bump into him at the funeral, and then he sees me there, and I was still looking what he calls good and whatnot, and so was he, blah blah. We exchanged notes. He was there with his girlfriend, blah blah blah, etc. And from that funeral, me seeing him at it, he made a decision that nobody else is going to make me happy in this world. He was embittered. He had, I guess, something spread up in him, because every time you bump into an ex that you never truly got over, there were little feelings that get, churned all up in your grill. And that guy had those feelings churned up in him, and then he made a decision, even though he had his own lady, the lady of which he went on right ahead to marry later on, okay? That's what's good. But he made a decision, but I'm not gonna go anywhere. And mind you, at the funeral of that ex of mine, the media thing, the girlfriend was highly pregnant. She was heavily pregnant at the time. Like, at the funeral, I saw her and everything with a baby bump, like just walking around in these streets. Beautiful woman. And I was like, oh hey, be with your woman, fly like a bird. I dated you when I was 17, you were 19, right? He was 2 years older than me. I dated you when you were 19 and I was 17. It is what it is. Isn't really that time. It's come and gone. All right. Like, let's just move on. Type establishment thing. Yeah. But then he made a decision that I'm not going to be happy in love. And at the time I was with the guy for 5 years. I was with my boyfriend. So he basically messed even with that relationship on some, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy. But I'm going to go and grab my wife. I'm going to go into the sunset and into the future. Why? Because we decided to go establish a bond when we were just 17 and 19 respectively. Highly unlikely gonna end up married. Highly unlikely gonna end up married was that situation. Highly unlikely. Most teenage romances don't result in marriage. We all know that. So we created a strong bond such that when we found each other again, some years down the line at some funeral, he felt like, no one else is taking her. Especially considering I've gone and made another woman pregnant. So now Karabo has got to face a life of loneliness, basically. That's what's good. Because her first love and the guy who took her virginity just was so possessive that he couldn't deal. So he made a decision that I'm not going to be happy. That's the kind of stuff that causes you an obsession, you guys. That is the kind of stuff that causes you a holding on to a person for dear life until you can't let go. Yeah, not boyfriend thing. Yeah, ex-boyfriend, my first love, the one that broke my virginity. I don't know how many times I have dreamt about him messing up with the wife, trying to come back into my life. The only reason why he would still be holding on to a woman he knew when he was 19 and she was 17 is because of having made himself obsessed. He created in himself a stronghold that latched onto one human being, making you have an optical illusion, a deliria, that makes you believe that it's never gotten better, it can never get better. It's an optical illusion, because proper, it does get better. Like, it does. It's an optical illusion, but the thing that creates the optical illusion that makes you believe that it's like literally nothing like Karabo has ever come is because you held on to her for dear life, Mus. You sat around holding on to Karabo using sorcery. And so of course you're gonna spend the rest of your life comparing every woman to Karabo. Why? Because almost you have held Karabo hostage with witchcraft. So now you're gonna feel a need or an importance to surveil Karabo, to make sure that the sorcery that you cast on her works. And so you're going to create in yourself an unnecessary fetish or an unnecessary obsession and an unnecessary addiction on a person that, frankly, if you had just left it to fly like a bird, you probably would not even spare her a thought today. You would not even think about her today. Guys, I see all the guys that I dated, especially the ones that I loved passionately. There's only been 3. The one on YN, the thingy, the very guy with the my first love, right? The one that broke my virginity. And then the one shortly after him, I also had very strong feelings for. It was dry for a season, and then the guy was 5 years. Only 3 guys have ever had my heart like really, quite hectically. Type establishment thing, guys. If it was not for my sorrow and my pain and my tormentedness in this situation that I am in, I would not have spared any of these guys a thought ever again. I only think about them because literally all 3 guys, the one has passed away, one Mahareng, the one after the first love, passed away in a car accident at 30. Alright, all of them, even the one Otoka fitting before he died, cast spells to make sure that I don't get happy. So basically the passion that I shared with them, those soul ties that I shared with them, they made a decision to make themselves obsessively, compulsively addicted to me in holding on to those passions while I left them loose. They could fly like birds, they could run, gallop like horses in these streets. I left them alone and did not spare them any thought. Like, once I was in the relationship with my ex of 5 years, I did not spend my time thinking about my first love, the guy who broke my virginity, even though that soul tie was formed. I did not spend time thinking about the guy who passed away. If anything, we went to his funeral together because this world is small. Somehow, they were connected through partying and clubbing, whatnot. So my ex, to a certain extent, knew my other ex. So when he passed away, we went to the funeral, right? I did not think about that ex-boyfriend of mine until we heard that he had died. Even though I had established a soul tie with him, and even though my feelings were exorbitant for him during the time that we went together. The ex of mine, over 5 years, only kept himself running in my mind like a gymnast. Because that was the last relationship I was in. And obviously, there is a weird little freezing of my romantic prospects ever since him. So I think about him only because he's caused me to think about him. However, if I was not in this obscurity, if I had my own husband jumping up and down like a kangaroo, I would not think about my ex or his wife, who he has married, what he's doing, how many children, what plans he has for the next day. I wouldn't care. Because I am literally thoroughly moved on. And the thing that enabled me to move on was, 1, not holding people hostage with sorcery. And secondly, God rocked up and set me free from strongholds. The Lord broke, shattered soul ties. It was the first prayer I prayed when I came to Christ. Please, God, I heard that there's something called soul ties. I don't want them. Like, yeah, I fornicated before it was right. So there's no such thing as the right fornication. I had sex before it was right. I had sex before marriage. I fornicated. I apologize. I'm sorry. Please cleanse me. of generational curse, not generational, but ibizang, soul ties. Please cleanse me of soul ties. God did just that. He heard me. I prayed. He answered me. Meaning that whatever mindset I had, guys, you know, the way that these strongholds are so hard knock at the time of entering into the kingdom of heaven, just before coming to Christ, just before I finally surrendered, there was a guy that was in a relationship, all right, that had a girlfriend basically, and I wanted him high and low. I had such like a massive crush on him, and if at all I had free fallen and allowed myself to fall in love with that guy, it would have been something very risque for me, because it was threatening to be one of the biggest loves I would have ever had. Okay, I was in a relationship, he was in a relationship. I was sick and tired of my ex-boyfriend, so I allowed myself to flirt with that guy. My ex and I broke up because we kept on breaking up and making up, and during one of our breakups I went on a date with this guy. And it went so swimmingly and so well that I was prepared to basically maintain my broken up state with my ex and start a thing with this guy. This dude, however, got cold feet, or whatever you want to call it, and made a decision that he's not going to run with what it is that this whole thing that we were doing was. It's like we were like Dej Loaf and Jacques. I don't know if you know that song. Yeah, Jacques and Dej Loaf. I know you really, really want it, but you belong to somebody else. Both want to be together, but we can't act on it. We were thoroughly on that tip. Proper. We both had people and we were interested in each other, and I humored a date with this guy because I'd broken up with my boyfriend. I didn't cheat on him with him, but I was prepared to leave my ex for this guy. I was thoroughly about to be like, if you leave him, if you leave her, I will leave him, and the two of us can go and gallop into the sunset together like horses. Yeah, that's what's good. And we were about to basically just shatter the hearts of two people, and then he pulled out. He pulled away. He is the one that got cold feet. I believe the reason why that guy got cold feet was because God wanted me. It was around the same time that I was investigating the things of God, and my ex-boyfriend Nang Bora at the time. Alright? And this oak that I met in as well, sort of at work, I was going to basically forget about all of my own convictions, my own morality, because I was the kind of girl that was like, I would never ever steal another woman's man. Nah, I get home reka. Yo, this time around I was prepared to wreck a home, because I wanted that guy like all that hard knock. I actually, because I was investigating the things of God, I actually went down on my knees, seeing as I was already like praying at the time. I actually prayed and asked God, please give me that man. The other woman will see what she does with herself. I prayed a sinful prayer to God, and the Lord just looked at me wagging his head on some, here's this one. She's not even fully surrendered to me. She's not even truly mine yet, but like I'm convicting her of sin. So God, I believe, is the one that caused that guy with whom I was busy singing a ballad. Can we get a room? And we don't gotta tell nobody. It's just me and it's just you, and what we doing here is private. Here it is that we're busy singing this like licentious song to each other. We obviously want each other. He's been in a long-term relationship, just as I'd been in a long-term relationship, and we're both kind of spazzing over each other. He decided to be sober and not leave the woman that he had been with all this time. But Mina, I was here, guys. I was here with my ex. I was here. I was done. We were already on an offing. I told you guys that, like, yeah, we had even broken up, and I was prepared to hear him out, and then he like stood me up. So our relationship was sort of kind of over anyway, but his wasn't though. His wasn't over. He was just rapacious. He was greedy. He was, you know that song? Who's that musician? I'm in love with these two chicks. I don't know which one to pick. Nah. Am I confused because I don't want to lose one of them? Am I confused because I don't want to choose none of them? Yeah, whatever. You get my point. Yeah, that dude was trying to literally be with two women. If it was up to him, that guy probably would have done a whole Zulu polygamy vibe where it is that he gets two wives. If both of us were to agree, he would have been like, this is perfect. But then I was not about that life, and I'm pretty sure the other woman was not about that business. No, I was the other woman. She was not about that, but she would not have wanted that. So he was just like basically experimenting, enjoying himself, having fun. And I thoroughly decided to go to God and ask that God just give me the guy. Give me the guy. Give me the guy. That other woman, she doesn't have tapelo, she doesn't pray. Yo, God ignored me, and I'm grateful. But I do feel as if though the Lord did that in that guy, made him pass me up and whatnot, largely because he was already with somebody else and he didn't want to hurt her. And secondly, God made him all that rapacity in his bones. He made him pass me shade. I was trying for the life of me to hurt some other woman and be with this dude shortly after my ex and I broke up, because I told you I could not be single. I could not be single. I was gonna get out of a 5-year relationship and slap bang like into another one. I don't even know what a rebound is, guys. Like, you know how people say that they break up out of a relationship that's lasted for very long, and then they rebound with a person for like a couple of months. I don't know the concept of rebounds, because I thoroughly went from very hard knock passionate relationship into another hard knock passionate relationship. I never ever walked right past some dude just for 2 months and then that was it. Like, that's never been me. I just got into these intense relationships that lasted very long, but the last boyfriend was literally 2 weeks apart from the last one, or a month. Month is even long. I promise you, that was me. And the Lord set me free from all that. Like, just like running with passions, feelings, just the way that you are stirred within. That's all you're running with. You're just running with your stirrings. That's it. Yeah, I was running with my stirrings, and then I got saved. This guy passed me shade. He said no. He didn't say no. He just until I was like, you're not gonna string me along, right? He was trying to play the game. He was trying to see if he can't literally make me like a lifetime side piece or a lifetime mistress. This guy wanted me, but like, he did not want to walk away from his woman. When I was a second girlfriend, like proper. Hey, Karabo. Polygamy in South Africa. But anyway, whatever. I'm pretty sure that guy, if I was prepared to, he would have literally had me as a side for years. For years. Yeah, you get relationships like those, like where women are prepared to be mistresses for years, or even side pieces of guys that have got main chicks for years. Imagine when you're a side piece for years. Are you on that day a side piece? Aren't you just a second wife? Anyway, whatever. Or a second girlfriend. I had a friend that was a second girlfriend. She came afterwards, and the guy was with her for 5 years, and the other woman, he was with her for something like 11, since they were in high school. Are you still a side piece when you are with a guy for 5 years? Do you feel like you're Rachel and Leah on that day? Do you feel like you are Michelle and Bathsheba and Abigail? You are the wives of one guy. It's just that the one wife came later. Yeah, anyway, whatever. I was gonna be a second girlfriend to this guy if I was prepared to take it in my stride. Yes, Muto has escaped my bullets. Yes, I've dodged my bullets. I was living dangerous. I have dodged some bullets. Naked low side piece. I was gonna mourn the day my boyfriend married the woman that was here first. I was gonna cry, and then he was gonna come to me after his honeymoon and be like, but Karabo, I love you. You know that was the one that was here first. It's not like I left you. It's not like I don't want to be with you. I care about you. But like, I married her. Yes, like, yo, talk about erosion of a woman's self-confidence. I was going to be a second girlfriend turned mistress. Hey, sure, I'm onto a thin ice. However, despite being a second girlfriend, mistress / whatever thing, almost ampor for this guy, the way I was just so intoxicated with the prospect of being in a relationship, God rescued me. And the very strong feelings I had for this dude, enough for me to want to leave the man that I was with to be with him. All that left as soon as I cried to Jesus. I get to the guy that had the girlfriend. He was passing me shade. During the time that he was passing me shade, then I decided to give my ex a chance to basically speak for himself. Do you want to get back together or what? He made a decision to ruin our lives and mess up and what have you. So he basically dodged the bullet or escaped the bullet of me being taken by that other guy, because that other guy decided that he's gonna rather stick with his girlfriend instead of finishing whatever it is that he started with me. My ex, therefore, was able to have an opportunity to talk to me and us reconcile and do a better thing, and he didn't. And the only reason I was prepared to go for Jacques as Dej Loaf was because he is the one that caused me to make like a periscope at ocean in a submarine, out here peeping at the ocean to see what else is out there. He made me see what else is out there because he frustrated the living daylights out of me. Otherwise, I would not have looked at any other guy. My periscopic general disposition, all of that, God got rid of it because of my ex's standing me up and us having that horrible final breakup. We were broken up, but we had like a final nasty one. Okay, I was so bereft and tattered and broken that I cried out to God, and I got saved because of me crying out to him to heal me from the pain of the breakup with the guy that I was with. Okay, and once I got born again, once I got saved, everything fell. Everything. Once I got saved, even the desire that I had for the guy with the girlfriend that I was trying to get to walk away from her and be with me, that also left, and he picked it up. He noticed. He used to work for MTN, but like not in the main building. That's a Constantia. So it's like working for the same company, but a different branch. So every so often, maybe like once every 2 weeks, maybe even once a week, he would be at the main head office. And one time he used to constantly see me, kisamon. Like he'd be in meetings and he would see me walking by, kisamon. And then he would send me a text message on something, "You're looking beautiful," and I would not respond. I would say nothing. Like I started to ugumzi about this guy. One time he called me, got private number. He had this this voice. Yes, he used to make that guy used to drive me up the hall. Yes, he had this like deep voice. Yeah, and on top of that he would speak isiZulu. Like anyway, he'd be like, "Hello," anyway, whatever. He calls me, got private number. Go MTN our numbers. You would see that it's a staff member calling you because it was like 0832 or 083212. Or whatever. He made a decision to privatize his number because he knew that I was avoiding him. I was thoroughly avoiding him. I think I might have even saved his number as do not answer. I was avoiding him. So one day he privatized number abang phonela to see if indeed I'm avoiding him, type thing. And I answer, I'm like, "Oh, hello." And he's like, Karabo yang balega. And so I recognize his voice. That guy. I was properly like punyuga bampete under that guy's grasp. Everything about him used to drive me up the wall. His voice, the fact that he just had this thorough grasp on the Zulu language. There was just so much going down for this Ogie that none of the voice very white. He had this deep voice and he was so well spoken across the landscapes. His Zulu was pure, his English was eloquent. He was just this really great guy that I was like, this is it. Like, why did you have to be with somebody else? Hey. Anyway, whatever, he calls me and my heart skips a beat, but then I remember I guess there's more where they came from. And he's like, "Young Balek." I'm like, no, Young Balek, it's not like that. I made some excuses and I could tell from the tone in his voice that he literally caught me in the act. He busted me. He basically was like, oh, it's like he confirmed his worst suspicions that I was avoiding him because I was not responding to his text messages whenever he was in the office because he was stringing me along. And I was not taking his calls because, like I said, I saved his numbers do not answer, I think, or avoid. I get something that basically said, and then he confirmed that I was avoiding him and he was like, "Oh, that's cool. It's all right, right?" And then he let me go, but like he didn't let me go. He then made a decision, since I don't want to be his lifetime mistress, since I don't want to be his, he wasn't married, he was dating a chick, since I don't want to be his like long-term second girlfriend turned into like mistress for life, he just felt like he's gonna punish me for that. And so I started getting all of these dreams about him putting spells on me and what have you. I did not understand them for what they were at the time. I didn't really understand my spiritual gifting in the very beginning stages of it, but what is clear about what had happened with me at the time is that I had decided to ditch all of these guys because I started to pray to God for a husband, and I knew that guy couldn't be mine because when I got saved, then I realized the folly of the prayer that I sent to God prior to my salvation that give me this guy. But when I got saved, I was like, I don't want a man that belongs to another woman. I don't want to break the heart of a woman. I don't also want to deal with a man that has got that level of infidelity in his heart, that is prepared to go and break the heart of a woman for me. I want something clean, something that comes out of nowhere and is made into something beautiful, because that's how God creates, ex nihilo. He speaks and it happens. He breathes into man and he becomes a living soul. So the Lord can, I guess, bring me a man that's just like me, waiting on the Lord for a wife. The Lord can. He can bring a man that's also been celibate for a minute, a man that's also been consecrated, doing the work of the Lord, being about his father's business, and then one day we come together. As again, Rebecca. It's entirely possible. I started to see that was a thing. So basically the strongholds, you guys, that were obsession with being in a relationship, can't not date, to a point where I was even with a closet homosexual at some point, knowingly, was I in a relationship with a man that couldn't even do anything for me in certain regards because he was into men. I kept on hopping from one relationship to the next. I, for some strange reason, struggled to let go of certain, of my boyfriends. I was like a leech, and whatever passions I might have had for some new guy that was in the pipeline to replace my ex, because I was always just hopping from one relationship to the next, but it would be some serious relationships that I would get into, not just these fly-by-night flings that last for 5 seconds. My relationships were lasting, guys. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. It's not like I was just jollaring lime kakwen. I've only been with 5. Well, only is not a small number, but like by the standards of this world, it is small. 5, right? With 5 men, sexually type establishment thing, precisely because I've always just been in long-term relationships. I did not hop and hop and hop and hop and hop type establishment thing. So with that being the way Negilekatengi and my addiction with being in a romantic establishment, it was impossible for me to truly breathe and be single. I was never going to do that because I had established a stronghold. It was an addiction. It was like snuffing lines of cocaine. It was no different from alcoholism. It was no different, guys. I had strongholds. I didn't know that that's what they were. I was addicted to romance because prior to me dating my first ever boyfriend, I was able to be single because I'd never dated. I'd never kissed. I'd never done anything. And yet here it is that after starting to date, I could not do it. It's like the devil used sin to create in me an addiction. He created in me an addiction for romance, for boyfriends. He wanted me to just keep on hopping from one to the other, and then the other and the other and the other. He wanted me to develop a dependency on being in these stirrings of relationships instead of looking at Jesus. And I should have seen it for an addiction, because what is an addiction? It's something that is a new habit that you enter into that you can't walk away from no matter how hard you try. And there is a time in history where this thing never used to exist. Prior to dating, I was single for 16 years. Guys, it's not like I'd never had a crush on a boy. When I was in primary school, I imagined that I was actually in love with this one guy. I couldn't stop thinking about him all day and night. He was in my class from grade 5, grade 9. In grade 5 he was in my class, in grade 6 he was in a different class, and then in grade 7 we were in the same class. And I was spazzing over this guy hard knock. I liked him from the moment I started at Winchester Ridge Primary, and I felt like I was in love. I say my first love is the guy who took my virginity, but like really in all truth it was that guy. My feelings were just so strong and so haughty and so passionate despite having been just a little girl. And I was hard knock crushing on this guy, for crying out loud. I found out only in high school that it was mutual. Little bugger. It's good. I mean, who in the world is jollering in primary school? I found out through a friend of mine. He didn't go to the same high school as me though. He was maintained in friendship with one of my girls, and then he was like, where's Karabo, where's Karabo, where's Karabo? I was like, he likes me. And then at Wits University first year, he was like, Karabo. Yeah, and then we didn't get together, whatever. And then later on, I ended up dating his friend, so we could never be together. It was just one of those like Pungirabampete type setup thing. But like that dude from primary, I liked him like no man's business, and every time I saw him I'd be like, oh my goodness, right? I didn't tell any of my friends. Don't nobody gotta know proper, because I didn't want to get teased for having a crush on a boy. Like, kids can be brutal, and I was protective of myself in that regard. But the crush that I had on that guy, even when I found out in high school grade 9 that it was mutual, I liked that guy so much. I told you, I feel like it was my first love. I liked him so much that I thought about him all year grade 8, even though he went to another high school, and I never saw him the whole year. Like, I didn't know where he went, to another, what school he went. He was just lost in the woodworks. But I liked him so much in primary that I continued to think about him in high school. And then in grade 9, finally, my friend was like, Karabo, let's say his name was Busiso. She was like, Karabo, Busiso keeps asking me about you. And my friend had been friends with Busiso since primary school, and they would call each other and what have you since standard 4. That would be grade 6. They were friends since then. And it turns out that this guy kept in touch with my friend, especially because he knew that my friend, when we were in grade 8, that I was put in the same class as her. It's like, okay, my friend, she was in the same primary school as me, right? But in primary school, we were just mere acquaintances. We didn't know each other. But in grade 8 at Sir John Adamson High School, we were put in the same class. We came from the same primary school, and we were put in the same grade 8, 9, 10, pretty much all the way to matric class. Okay, and this friend of mine was friends with this guy because she was a tomboy. She was always making friends with boys. She was friends with all the boys we had crushes on in primary school. So they kept contact with her. So after my friend enrolled at Sir John and was in the same class as me, he then was like, so who is at Sir John? Who? Like this guy, when he called my friend, hey friend, how you doing, girl? Let's say my girl's name was, give me a name, Babalo. She's like, hey Babalo, what's up? So who from school, who from Winchester is in your school? Who from Winchester went to Sir John? And then my friend was like, this and Karabo and this and then, and he was like, Karabo is at Sir John? Yeah, she's at Sir John. If anything, she's in my class. And then when he found out that I'm in the same class as this girl, this friend, this chick would ultimately become my friend, because we're in the same class, we ended up hanging out together, we became fast friends, right? Type thing. As soon as he found out that I was not only in the same school as my friend, but also same class, he kept on hassling her on some, so how's always Karabo, what's going on, nigga? Until my friend was like, do you like Karabo? Because every time we talk on the phone, you're asking me about Karabo. And he was like, yeah, I mean, I've always thought she was pretty, but she always used to ignore me. My friend then decides to come, literally it took a whole year, so all of grade 8. They're busy talking and he's like, so what's Karabo doing today? What not? And then my friend, only in grade 9, okay, is like, yes, Karabo Spusiso likes you. He has such a big fat crush on you. He can't stop talking about you. I had never stopped thinking about Spusiso, right? All throughout grade 8, I had never stopped thinking about that bugger. And then here's this chick telling me in grade 9 that he likes me. And I'm now a teenager, right? I'm like 14 turning 15. I'm no longer some 12-year-old where it's inappropriate to date. I, however, was not interested in dating it. I wanted to start dating only at 16. It was like a whole rule I had, okay? But I was closer to 16 than ever. I was now 15. And here it is that, turning 15. And here's this chick now telling me that the guy that I was frankly just enamored with in primary school likes me back. I was like, what? He likes me? He likes me? I did not get excited. I didn't. I acted cool. I was like, oh, really? I was like, oh, really? I explained that whole story to you to help you understand that there was a time when, upon discovering that somebody likes me that I like back, I could thoroughly just take that information and do nothing about it. I could thoroughly grab that 411 and act nonchalant, blasé, absolutely unmoved, unfazed, like I have just not heard the news of my life about it. I was able to ignore strong feelings, what I would call even love, for a guy, because I had never been with a guy. I'd never held hands with a guy. I'd never kissed a guy. I'd never had a boyfriend. Ever. And so even though I had strong feelings for some dude that I just found out liked me back, I did not be to my friend like, Babalo, the two of us need to go drive ice cream go Milky Way. Make it work. I did not hassle my friend. I kept my cool. I had this glazed disposition. I was chill. I was maxing out, especially considering I had told myself I'm not going to start jollering until I'm 16. And at that stage, I was 15. I was 14, turning 15. I was not going to be ready for a year. So I did not highlight. I didn't raise it. I found out from my friend that he likes me back, and I went home all excited, choking up by myself on some, ooh, he likes me, ooh, he likes me. He's in a different high school. There is a way that we can connect through somebody that is a mutual friend, but I did not insist on it. However, fast forward a couple of years down the line, as soon as I find out that a guy that I likes me back, we're gonna be together. We're gonna be together, Joel. Why it's on the schedule? I mean, really, this is mutual. Why are we wasting time? And the guy that I was like Dej Loaf, and he was Jacques. He had a girlfriend. I had a man. I liked him. He liked me. I knew we had feelings for each other. And despite him having a girlfriend, I still wanted to make it work because I was addicted to being in relationships. I wanted to leave the guy I was with, and I had to enter into a new relationship with him. I'd always told myself in that relationship that the only way that I'm going to get out of this relationship 5 years is if I enter into another one straight away, because somebody got to overwhelm and coup the space of this guy, squeeze it out of my heart, or I'm not going to be okay. I can't just recover after breaking up with a person. I can't just recover cold turkey by myself. I need to take out a drug out of my system with another one, like proper, like draining a toxin out of your body by injecting another one. That's how it was. But prior to me dating for the first time ever, I was able to ignore strong feelings for a guy that I knew liked me back because I had not established a stronghold in my heart. I did not build a stronghold inside myself. I did not manufacture an addiction that I then imagined I have to keep on going back to it and schnaufing it just to be okay. So I was able to sit with strong, passionate feelings for a guy and not do anything about it. That's power. That is power. That's true freedom. It's written in God's word that he gives us freedom over sin when we come to him, because right now we're slaves to sin. When you're not born again, you are a slave to sin. And the Lord basically awards you freedom not to sin. That's true power. When you can, by the Spirit of God, put to death the deeds of the body, you are truly free. But when you just run with passions, that's when you're truly incarcerated. That's when you're actually a prisoner. And I made myself a prisoner by investing in demons of fornication and demons of, passions prior to romance, demons that come associated with recreational dating. Just moving from one guy to the next. I formulated within my own heart an addiction to these things, such that I felt like I couldn't do anything without it. I told you that I could never enjoy myself at a party if I was not there with a boyfriend. I could not enjoy a braai if I was not there with a boyfriend. I could not be independently happy without a boy. Thank God I got saved, because I don't know what that would have produced in me later on in life. If at all I had gotten married and divorced, I was gonna be one of those middle-aged women that's like out here having sex with random people in the office. Like, guys, it would it's ugly. It's messy. It's messy. I got saved from my addiction to relationships, and as I got older, as I would have gotten older, like turned 50, 60, I would have lost my attractiveness, and now I would have been forced to be lonely. However, passionately desirous of being with anything and anyone in these streets. It's the kind of stuff that can just convert a woman into a whore. Like, just for the sake of companionship and just exchanging each other and, mixing bodily fluids, and it would have been gross. My future was looking taxing. It was not looking very promising, and the Lord wrenched me out of that. When I got born again, I was able to let go of all the crushes I had. The Jacques. As Dej Loaf, I stopped being Dej Loaf and I went right back to being Karabo, born again, daughter of the living God. I conquered an addiction, and it was cold turkey. That's what you guys need to understand. It was overnight. It did not take time. It was not something that I had to work on. It happened immediately. It's almost as if though something got out of me. It's like I got delivered. It's like the Holy Spirit moved in, so demons got out. It was obviously a demon. That's why, Gary, when it comes to deliverance, the best thing you can do for yourself is just get saved. And some demons will leave immediately as soon as you get born again, and others you will have to make war with by striving and fasting over a longer period of time. But nonetheless, demons cannot chill in the same environment as the Holy Spirit. They can't. So I got immediately loosed from the stronghold that was sitting on my chest, making me a woman addicted to romance. When you're addicted to relationships, that can work out for you while you're still young and beautiful, but when you get older, you just look tactless, like a woman that just won't stop sleeping around all over the show, or dating guys that everybody's like, whoa, you're with John? You will end up like that. So I am trying to basically get my ex-boyfriend to recover from he is sick because he has consumed devils that come sutured even with sorcery, that have caused him to have an addiction to his ex-girlfriend that is immovable, and it's a stronghold. And apart from redemption, apart from getting born again, he is not going to conquer. His desire to finish me off, to defeat me, to make sure I can never be loved and love anyone, because he's holding on to someone that God loosed from him long ago. When you get involved in darkness, when you get involved in witchcraft, you intensify addictions that were already there. You make sure that you will obsessive compulsively harass and stalk something that frankly you would have gotten freedom from long ago if you just let it go. Like, if you let go, let God. If you just allowed God to fulfill his promise in your life. He said he has come to set the captives free. He will loose you from strong passions that you have for a married man you imagine you can't be with. You think that nobody compares. There's no such rubbish. If he's married, then understand, not only is there someone that compares, but there's someone better. Like, you know how God told me about the guy that I was still spazzing over when I found out he was married? He told me, you love ABC. I called him the man, or Mr. Man. You love Mr. Man now, but one is coming that you're gonna love more. And at the time, I was just so incredibly afflicted by the prospect of not being with him that I thoroughly, in my rebellion, said to God, I don't want another guy. I want Mr. Man. But God cured me. He healed me. He healed me enough to get to a point where I now today can say of Mr. Man, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? If you want to get to a point where you're completely over an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend that you can't stop thinking of, or ex whatever, proper. If you want to conquer addiction to that human being, cold turkey overnight, give your life to Christ and see if he will not help you to walk on sunshine. The day when I got born again, something that was linking me or attaching me to my ex-boyfriend got loosed. And even though I was crying like a baby, sobbing in the shower that morning, I was so light on my feet in the office all throughout the day and going forward that I could not believe that I was that dreadfully mournful or saying what thing in the morning. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was loosed literally immediately. Some demons come out with fasting and prayer, but others come out just because you get born again. Like, just get saved. and things will flee from you. You will miraculously overcome the dingy, dark igloo that you're living in the Arctic Circle of being the side piece of some dude or the mistress of a man. For 5 years, you've even given him a baby, and you are morose at the fact that you are number 3, number 2. You will suddenly, overnight, in Jefela conquer and go and raise your son, for crying out loud, without this stronghold. Like a mole. Remove that cancerous mole. Get it cut out by some doctor, so you don't continue to metastasize in a relationship with a person that has kept you a lifetime adulteress, for crying out loud. Like, you can get out. You can break free. And it will shock the living daylights out of that person who thinks Oguti, they've pinned you down. And they keep speaking sweet nothings to you. It's like, dude, you're the father of my child, unfortunately. Because I decided to go and give a married man a baby. But like, that's where it ends. We can co-parent. But as for me, I'm waiting on God for a husband. I'm a single woman. I've never been married. What am I doing with a married man? Wasting all of my best years. Like, it's just, it does not make sense. It does not make sense. I knew of a woman like that on the come up. She was like 25 when we were like 21. And she was dating this older married man. He could have been in his 40s. Some white guy. He would finance her every whatever. He was paying for a flat and everything. But this woman was an independent woman. She could afford herself. But she just chose to be with this like married guy. I would later come to learn years down the line, she was closer to my cousin than she was to me. I would come to learn years down the line that she got married. I was like, really? Let's say her name was Priscilla. I was like, Priscilla got married? The way that she was so attached to her lover, Andrew. I would have imagined that this woman was going to be maintained as a lifetime mistress, but instead Priscilla got married. Some man made an honest woman out of her. I was shocked. I was like, Priscilla got married? So some man pursued her in these streets out there and made her a wife. And all this time she was busy ransacking the piece of some married woman. How did that even happen? Priscilla got married. I don't know if Priscilla gave her life to God or what, but later on she did finally get married. What I'm trying to explain to you guys is that it is irrational to allow yourself to be involved in a relationship with a married man. It's irrational because just like Priscilla, you get married, and Priscilla was only 25. You are literally giving the best years of your life, your prime, to someone that is robbing peace from a woman that has lost her best years. A woman that when he married her, she was at her prime, and now that she has lost her youth, he is insulting her with a younger woman. And you can't have compassion on that. You can't have empathy on that as a woman. You need to have mercy on women that are older, younger women, by not allowing their husbands to have you. You proper add to the problem, because at some point you're also gonna age. You're also gonna have some baga underestimate you when you were the heat of the town when you were 23, and now that you're 43, your husband is out, you're passing you shade for a 23-year-old. You will want that 23-year-old to have your back and refuse to let that man nibble into her at your expense. But you see, when you wait on God for a husband, you are unlikely going to end up with a guy that's gonna want to nibble the toes of a 23-year-old at your expense, because he has been renewed, transformed by the renewing of his mind. Bamo ebotse nonsense. Do you understand? God has cleansed him. When you wait on the Lord, you don't end up with men like, let's say his name was Zoro. The guy that I wanted to take from another woman. Uzoro. The other woman that he was with was more or less my age. She was my, because Kaufela, we were young. We were all still young. Do you understand what I'm saying? So his girlfriend was my age. So I did not think much of it. But his rapacity and his greed in gazing at me while having another woman evidenced that, frankly, that's just greed. It's rapacity, because you are with a woman that has got skin that is just as taut as mine, a body that is just as slender as mine, a youth that is just as present as mine, and yet you are still greedy. It's only going to get worse with time, because this time around you're going to offend her with women that have got taut skin while hers is falling apart, with women whose collagen production is at its height while hers is declining, women that don't need fillers and Botox while she's out just getting appointments every 6 months. And that's when insecurities are going to be astronomical. So when your man is already like rapacious, like greedy, when he's just 30 and his girlfriend is 26, what in the world is going to happen when he is 40 and she's 36? When he's 50 and she's 46? You gotta see, foreshadow what in the world could happen. Men can be made wholesome, but we do know that they're kind of nitwits when they don't have God from youth. It is not that they become jerks because they get older. It's that their jerkhood becomes more apparent now that they're older, but they've always been jerks. So, it is therefore possible to get a young man that is above reproach, who will then become an older man that is above reproach. Christ is the only way around that, y'all. Only way. But if at all you don't go to Jesus Christ, you are gonna find yourself being like my ex-boyfriend, holding on possessively to an ex-girlfriend that you underestimated when, in your youthful rapacity, you undermined because she'd been in your life for 5 years. She was yours the whole time, so you didn't see her beauty there anymore. She was there the whole time, so you did not see her glory. I was at the height of my goodness. I dated this guy when I was just 22, and we broke up when I was like 26 going on 27. So I was at the height of my youth. I was at my prime. I was at my most beautiful. And yet he grew tired. It got old. He underestimated what he had. If he could do that with a 26-year-old, what in the world would have been my life at 39 with him? Guys, do not allow your aging skin, women, to make you think that that's the reason why a man is acting a fool. Because they act fools all up in our grill when we're just 22. Y'all know that's a thing. The only thing that corrects a rotten mindset is Jesus, and he rocks up in women and men's lives and exsanguinates addictions in them, causing women to reasonably wait on God for husbands, because really you don't have to sprint down the aisle, girl, just walk. And you will walk to the man that the Lord has set apart for you. Similarly too, if men wait on God for wives, they will find a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord. And just like with the Proverbs 31 woman, he will have full confidence in her, and he will be praised at the city gates because he's got a woman that is a crown of glory on his head. A crown of glory on his head. Do you understand what I'm saying? There is a way around this. But remember, the road is narrow that leads to life, and few people find it. So they are not just coming out of a box of Smarties because what a lot I got. These godly men. They're rare, they're few and far between. And so as a result, just as with any transportation that is expensive to get on, it's not just leaving every 2 minutes. It's not like a taxi. You don't just comba. You have to schedule it. A flight. In comparison to a taxi, you can just go to Brie with a taxi. You can just go to Brie, and next thing you're in a taxi on the way to Pimville and you're set, you're home. But if you want to travel to another country or another province, you have to actually book a flight, be there 2 hours in advance, check in, and then only fly. The mode of transportation, the more sophisticated it is, the longer you have to wait to board it. And a good husband is like a flight, whereas a bad one is a taxi taking you to Pimville. There's more where they came from, and there are more of them than there are airplanes. But like, they cannot take you to the destination you need to go to, if you know what I mean. If you want to go over, if you want basically a passionate romance that is faithful all the way into your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you are going to wait for an airplane instead of just to scooter, bastic. See, you will wait, and you will be at the airport on time because you got to check in and everything. You have got to be about your father's business. Otherwise, you're going to miss your flight. You're gonna miss your flight if you insist on being in a taxi instead of at the airport. Meaning, ukjola nje rough because you are waiting on God for a husband. That's not gonna work for you. And you're also gonna miss your flight if you don't arrive on time. Meaning, patience and long suffering is important. You've got to wait. I'm 39, and people undermine the prospect of me ever getting married. Frankly, I do too. But like God told me once upon a time, that I'm gonna love a man more than I love some other dude that married another woman. And I'm 39, it's 7 years since that time, and I'm still single. But guess what? I've been at the airport check-in this whole time. I've been waiting on God this whole time. I nearly got on nasty taxis AZ2 because I thought they were airplanes. But then the Lord showed me that this is not an airplane. It is a scooter. It is a taxi, girl. This here is a regular Uber. It's not an airplane. And I immediately got off and continued to wait at the airport. And with my waiting, I have been mocked, I've been teased, I've been dissed, I've been told I'm old, I've got a geriatric womb, I've got all different kinds of nasty things falling apart off my skin. And then the Lord gives me his bugo and is like, Karabo, you think you're falling apart, my daughter. Look at yourself. I've preserved you. You're still beautiful. You are maintained. You are healthy. You might not see it, but I don't see no geriatric womb in your body. I see somebody that's one day gonna give birth to healthy children. You don't see that. So you're flattened, and like Sarah, you're laughing at me when I tell you of a promise. But insofar as you wait for me, even though you're busy laughing at me when I tell you of your promise, you will finally get what you want. I remember that you are made of dust, so I have compassion on your unbelief right now. But in your unbelief, you cannot sin. In your unbelief, you can't fornicate. In your unbelief, you can't just jola because you're in a rush. In your unbelief, you can't sin, you can't walk away from me, you can't, etc. Just in your unbelief, trust anyway. Because at the end of the day, if you don't grow weary of doing good, in due season, you will reap the peaceful fruit of righteousness if you don't give up. I don't know what's coming my way. All I know is that obedience is better than sacrifice. Just obey even when you are laughing at God for a promise you imagine He has abandoned you from fulfilling. Just obey even when you no longer believe that something's coming. And you will be surprised. You will literally be surprised. Do a better thing. My ex-boyfriend is a sight for sore eyes. It breaks my heart to even think about the things that he's doing, but I recognize that strongholds. He has made himself develop an addiction to something that he would have gotten over years ago. If only he had allowed time to heal him. I allowed time to heal me. I got over him, but now I'm being forced to keep looking at him because he keeps on casting spells on me. And now he wants a woman that very unrealistically is about to contract HIV any minute now. To contract HIV. He wants a woman that is not about to go and jola randomly, sleep with some random guy and contract the virus to contract it. He is irrational. And in so being irrational is also unreasonable. And in so being unreasonable is also breaking his own heart. He is trashing himself. He's making it impossible to focus on his own wife and his own children, or child, however many he has. He is making it very hard to focus on bophelo ba gagwe because he's busy that he has given himself an addiction for. So witches, allow me to implore you to seize yourselves from the temptation to continue bewitching people, because all you do is make yourselves like stalkers and victims of the devil that will keep on investing more and more demons in you, like stuffing a sausage with meat. He will keep on just investing more and more demons in you until you feel like you can't do without a mere mortal. No, you're complete in Christ. You need God. When you bewitch people, you make yourselves obsessed with them. When you cast spells on people, you make yourselves police of them. You surveil them. And when then your sorcery does not go according to plan, you obsess even further and go back to the drawing board to a point where you will even tweak your witchcraft to say, okay, fine, so I can't steal everything from her, but just make sure she at least gets HIV. And that's what my ex-boyfriend is doing. When am I going to contract HIV when I don't even have sex? Like, how? Like, there's just absolutely nowhere in these streets that I can get it. Unless I get into a car accident and somebody bleeds on me and enters into my wounds. Guys, just any other way other than sex. But the one thing that's definitely not going to happen is me contracting that virus through sex. Not now, not any minute now. Not with the level of carefulness that I walk in. But people who are invested in sorcery thoroughly imagine that they can get people to lose their minds, essentially, and do whatever they want them to do. I was the other day kind of proud of my ex-boyfriend for downing tools on sorcery, but then he has recently gone back to the drawing board, because apart from giving your life to Jesus Christ, you can't just by willpower, especially when you've been involved in the occult, conquer strongholds. He would have to surrender to God and see the miracle of him being overnight cured from an addiction, like an alcoholic all of a sudden going sober without rehab, a drug addict all of a sudden going sober without rehab. That's what happens in the kingdom of heaven. It's a miracle. People that have had addictions for years, gambling, drugs, sex, alcohol, suddenly conquering something that they don't even need intervention by human beings for, because they just turned to Jesus. Cold turkey. If you wanna quit cold turkey, try Jesus. I promise you, it works. He works. Christianity works. It worked for me. And I didn't even know that that's what I was gunning for. I didn't even know I had an addiction that I needed to be cured from until I realized I had one, because I was now cured from it. Try Christ. That's what I'm getting at. I've been trying to lead a whole bunch of people in the occult to God, and it's like they don't want to buy my skellum. You can't maintain all that level of addiction, guys, to people and be okay. Because what are you gonna do on the day when the woman you were hoping to hold hostage with your sorcery for the rest of her life marries a man anyway? The amount of pain, I know what it's like to find out that someone you love married someone else. It is exquisite. It's excruciating. It's insufferable. And it's like razors, swallowing them and having them just cut up your heart as they go through your system. It's painful. It's painful. It is a pain that I can't even fathom. I feel like it's the worst I've ever experienced, seeing as I have never lost a loved one that was like young or whatever. I've only ever lost like one khono. So I don't know. And I had a brother that passed away, but he was absent in my life. He was a half brother. My dad's kid. I never knew him. So it did not hurt that much when he passed away. I was sad, but not too devastated, right? Because I've never had a terrible death. So that feeling of losing love, romantic love, is the most poignant one I've ever felt. God forbid I don't want to feel what it's like to lose a loved one to death. Now that I've said it, I hope I'm not out here causing things to motion in the cosmos. But what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that the pain of romance gone wrong is poignant, it's extreme. If anything, even statistically, apparently divorce is second in its power to afflict a person emotionally to the death of a loved one. So romantic love is really shattering when it doesn't go right. It's shattering. Even God describes his own relationship with the church as that, romance, bride and Christ, the bride of Christ. And God is jealous for us. So when it goes wrong, it can cause so much disaster. So you do not want to watch a woman you are still violently obsessed with marry another man. If anything, it has produced the menace that this man in America is. I keep seeing him in dreams as Beyonce in the song Ring the Alarm. I've been through this too long, and I would be damned if I see another man in your arms. When romantic love goes wrong, it can create a psychosis, and it is, I believe, second to the death of a loved one. It's poignant, it's extreme, it's deep, and if you want to feel it, you will obsessively invest in sorcery against a woman that is your ex-girlfriend, or somebody that you liked very much that did not want you because Korbela Yahal did not work. When you invest in sorcery, you make sure that you are going to mourn, do you understand, like a dog on the day that she gets married to someone else. If you don't want to be obsessively staring into a calabash, a glass ball, waving a magic wand while somebody is being given what she asked for from God in prayer anyway, you will walk away and spare yourself the pain of watching a woman you have made yourself obsessed and addicted to. You've made yourself love her more than is absolutely necessary. You will endure yourself through the pain of watching her marry another guy. Just set yourself free before that day, because trust me, when you finally find out that they married someone else, it is excruciating. I can't describe it better than swallowing razors and they pass through your throat and then go into your heart and keep on cutting your heart. It's painful. Just avoid it. Let go of ex-girlfriends, let go of ex-boyfriends. Cut ties, if anything. Stop jollering. Like Gen Zs, I keep talking to Gen Zs because I feel like I can't the millennials. When you're in high school, why are you jollering? The guy that cast spells on me that I spoke about that broke my virginity, I was 17, he was 19. Why was I jollering? It's because I was lost. Well, if you're listening to this, you don't have to stay lost, as I stayed lost until 26. Alright? Just get saved and stop jollering. And so stop putting yourself in a position to feel possessive over some guy that could not have possibly ended up your boyfriend, your husband. Over some woman that could not have possibly ended up your wife because you were just 16. It's highly unlikely statistically. Most people don't end up with high school sweethearts. Most. So why put yourself in a position to suffer that level of grief? Just don't jolla. Wait until you're ready to get married, and then once you are ready to get married, court only. In other words, only chat with people that have made it clear that they want to marry you, that they are trying to propose marriage to you, because they know you're godly and they want to see if at all you guys can end up together. Courtship, that's all that should be happening. You should only be going on dates with men that are courting you, and you are sussing out whether or not you can actually end up married. You should not be dating anybody other than one who is courting you. Then in that way you minimize the prospects or the possibility of being shattered when this person ends up married to someone else. Just to reduce the potential for pain, guys. That's what I'm getting at. Alright, I hope you've been edified. As for my ex-boyfriend, he's intensely naive. Intensely. But like, my prayer is that God will heal him, because he has made himself obsessed and addicted to a woman that he would have gotten over after a year, maybe 2, of us being broken up. But it's been 13. He did it to himself. I hope you've gotten a strong lesson out of this. I'm signing out in Christ's name, Cran K. Bye.